Everybody, nice to see everyone here today. Thank you for your time. I want to thank RESO and Chris and Sara for giving us the opportunity to speak today. We're going to do a quick, easy panel session. We're going to talk about tracking member engagement and talk about some real-world examples with Sara and PrimeMLS. So before I get started, I want to introduce everybody. Sara Fogg, Director of Product and Implementation with PrimeMLS, formerly Naren. And then, of course, we've got Chris Lambrou, CIO of Metro MLS, and also the chair of the Internet Tracking Workgroup. And then my new boss, as I'm the new Director of Marketing at Relevate. We're a leading provider of AMS and SSO platforms, and we've got Mark Richburg, our CEO here. So let's go ahead and get this started. We got 15 minutes. So, Chris, let's jump in and talk about what internet tracking is a bit and give us some background with regards to how it applies to RESO as well.
Sure, absolutely. Thanks, by the way, for having me up here, guys. Internet tracking, we've been working on this standard for a subset of data dictionary for about 6-7 years. You can see on the screen there, that's kind of our mission there. That's our little infographic of what we do. That's our event model. If you need a refresher, internet tracking really is just about activity recording inside of products, right? All of the real estate products that exist today, right? As Carl Sagan would say, the billions and billions of real estate products. Did I just age myself? Sorry, yeah. Carl Sagan, look him up. No. They're all doing it today. They're all recording activity inside their products today in their own unique ways, and that's terrific. But what we want to do on our mission for internet tracking is to leverage the open source community of RESO to ask for just exports from each of these silos so that we can have that data commingled easily and quickly for decision makers like Sara here to be able to extrapolate information and make better decisions quickly for their membership. So that's kind of the goal of internet tracking.
Yep. You referenced it earlier as an impartial source of truth. I like that.
Right, and so in my experience in the Internet Tracking Workgroup, we talk about really interesting events and how to record them, but the question is always, how do we derive value from that? And the important point that I'll make is I don't know that we really know exactly how we're going to derive value from it today, but the events are occurring, and if we're not logging them and aggregating them today, then 5 years from now, or whenever we have a significant data set, we'll look back and say, man, I really wish we started tracking that 5 years ago. So now's the time. And one of the questions that get asked in the workgroup is, where do we store all of this? And I think if you look at the screen, you know, we have these 4 different major elements, right? And the actor is who's taking the action. And our opinion at Relevate is if the actor is a member, then that event should be stored with us. As the AMS, we are the best positioned to create value from that data. And so we'll talk about it later on, creating a storage facility for any product in the industry to report to us for our mutual customers.
Awesome. Sara, let's jump in and talk to you a bit. You've got a great backstory with regards to talking about why to track member engagement and some backstory of how some of this stuff got started.
It got started with us coming home from San Francisco. Mark and I were sitting in the airport together. I won't tell you what we were arguing about, as we tend to do that. But in order for a dashboard, in my mind, to be successful, is you've got to be able to track those clicks. You've got to know that your members are engaging with products. And it was kind of nice because Mark ended up building it for me. So I appreciated that because I'm looking for the value. I'm looking for the adoption. Because it's one thing to throw something on a dashboard. Well, you could leave it up there forever, but you really only want things on there that are truly being engaged with your members. They're truly being adopted and used, because otherwise it's just taking up space, and maybe you can put something else on board. Or you end up with 50 different products that you're offering, and nobody ever scrolls down all the way. So.
Awesome. So let's jump forward and talk about the telemetry reports. Mark, share with us.
I want to head back one slide, Mike, if we can. So I want to talk a little bit about churn management. You know, we look at the industry today. I mean, our business models are all very much built around active member count, and as we look to the future and wonder, is that a sustainable model, we have to figure out who are we going to, I'm going to say, fight to keep, right? And so we need to identify who our most engaged, who our most valuable members are, and a great way to do that is to look at not just the clicks on the dashboard, or even if they click into the MLS and from there click a tool, all of that gets reported back to us so that we see the engagement at the SSO level, but beyond that, are they actually generating value within whatever product they went out to? And so that's part of the webhook we'll talk about later, is again consolidating all of that information for wherever a member experiences a value event.
I would also jump in and say, because we're getting ready to roll the next phase, which is going to allow us to tell whether it's a broker or an agent, what member class is truly clicking and utilizing it as well. The other thing that we do, and it says actionable intelligence, I'm able to pull reports. You never want to take away products from your members, obviously, but sometimes you don't have a choice because it's just not being adopted. It takes the emotion out of it because it all goes straight to the data and the numbers. It's either being clicked and utilized or it's not. So it gives us a way of being able to talk to our leadership about that and give them the data they need in order to make a decision.
Yeah, and this subject, guys, is really top center right now in our industry. I guarantee you that 50% or more MLSs are budgeting for less members in the next year. We're morphing into a new marketplace. The member engagement retention is going to be top of the line in many organizations starting this year, something that we've hadn't had to worry about, in the last market. But as the market changes, especially even in my world at Metro, we're hyper-focused more on member engagement right now than we ever were. So this is a perfect time for a solution like this. I really think so.
No. And from the vendor perspective, again, we're impartial. We don't have a dog in that race, but we can surface data to the customer, Prime in this case, to say, hey, engagement on this product is dropping. And so that's a trigger to you to reach out to the vendor for additional support and say, you've got a great plan of scheduling webinars and getting the members involved, and we can push that into our AMS system to drive better direct engagement with the members, sending emails and text messages and things like that to say, hey, why, we saw that you logged into this, but you haven't, created let's say a CMA in 30 days. What's up? Do you want some training? Do you want to sit on a webinar? So it gives you the opportunity, it gives you the data to make informed decisions.
I will say we're very fortunate. Our Director of Marketing and Education, Brianna Garrett, rocks. She's creating YouTube videos. She's doing pop-up videos. She's really promoting these products. And when we see that engagement start dropping, she'll reach out to these vendors and say, hey, do you want to do webinars? Because if you don't engage with our membership, you're not going to get the adoption. We're trying to promote you, but you need to promote yourselves as well. So that's helped out a lot.
Let's take a look at an example. So with the user telemetry report, here's a real example from PrimeMLS. And typically when you look at this chart, if you've selected all of the various product types, the MLS, of course, absorbs a very large part of that chart. So in this case, we exclude the MLS, and we're looking at everything other than MLS to see what are the engagement rates relative across all of the products being offered. Which ones are the members being, which ones are they logging into, and which ones are they logging into repetitively. And we can break that down, as Sara said, by member type. So what are the brokers using versus the agents versus the appraisers versus the assistants?
Yes, sir. You talked about site. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jump on you, Chris, but you talked about site licenses and how important this is with regards to your decision-making processes.
For site licenses, definitely, even more so than if you have, say, a rev share or something, because if you're paying $1 per member per month and you've got over 11,000 members, that's a lot of money. And if you turn around and look at it and you only have 4% adoption on a product, that's 96% of your members who either aren't interested or have not been engaged. And why are you going to pay out that money? You have to turn around and take a step back and say, you know what, this may not be the best relationship for us to be in. Thank you for trying, but have a great day.
You have permission to speak, Chris.
Yeah, I look at this donut, and it's probably the second type of donut that gets me excited. But I'm like a kid in a candy store here. Like, I see this information and that you're recording this information, and then my head starts exploding. Like predictive analytics that you can do to just catch members as they wane off, and like you mentioned, send that to your marketing team to see if they're truly going to kind of jump off the ship, so to speak, as well as other things. Like, I'd like to see other vendors. These guys are at the beginning of the chain here. They're the source of truth. As they've implemented this in their dashboard. So by having the downstream folks being able to talk back to you, that's another big thing that I would love to see come out of stuff like this.
Absolutely. I mean, as you mentioned, we're talking about catching members as they're preparing to depart. And when a member leaves, again, based on the industry, it's not just hurting the MLS, right? It hurts the MLS, the local association, the state association, the broker, NAR, like everybody, and the vendors, all of the vendors on this list. It's one less target for them. So we want to catch that as early as we can and best mash it up with, MLS data to say, hey, especially when your productive agents start waning, like that's the time to retarget them through the communication platform.
And one other thing that's nice, you do see there's a lot on this chart, but we can turn around and do it by vendor type. So you can compare two public records vendors or showing services to see the engagement and go head to head on it to see whether or not something is waning or if something's just really not going to work for you anymore.
Okay.
You want to jump up and talk about
Absolutely.
webhooks?
Let's talk about what's next. So we talked about, on the last page, we saw the engagement at a click or authentication level. But going deeper than that, I wanted us to start recording member value events. And so I define that as anything, as you see in the line, a more valuable engagement than just logging in. It's easy to track that they've logged into a tool, but once in the tool, what are they doing? At what point is the user experiencing a moment of delight, a moment of value creation? And if that vendor can report it back to us, then we can share it with our mutual customer so that at the end of, let's say, the year when you're getting ready to do your renewal billing, you can say, hey, member, you had a great year. Not only did you have this many listings, but you created this many CMAs. You had this many showings. You opened this many lockboxes. And so it's things more than that, listing violations and ads clicked. We'll talk about that as we get into other data that we can do. But you show the member all of these things they've done over the year and then ask them for their renewal. And it's just a more meaningful interaction with the member at that point. They know that you're sort of paying attention to them. And so the member engagement webhook that we're sharing today, the transport is based on just an HTTP webhook. It's very simple for any vendor to just make a webhook. A webhook is a little bit lighter weight than an API. It's almost like a telegram, right? It's just going to tell us that something happened. It's not really expecting a sophisticated response from us. We're just going to say, okay, we got it. And the payload's based on the RESO Internet Tracking Data Dictionary standard. So as we talked about, those four major types, the actor, the event, the object, what was acted on, and then the source, where's it coming from.
What's super cool about this, guys, is we've been talking about this concept, internet tracking, for a couple of years, just waiting for implementation. This isn't vaporware. This is live in production today. And what Mark and the team here have done with this MVE is they've opened the door ajar for downstream folks to add on to that user record. This is profound in our world of internet tracking, and this is incredible. And this is all coming from an AMS system, which, is so inundated with all these other things. Seeing this type of raising the bar coming from that is really exciting, and I just wanted to mention too, that talkback, I call it a two-way API, but I know that's just my jargon. But what you've done with the webhook thing is terrific, and we're excited to see that and kind of flourish in other products. So.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it.
So we'll also talk about our launch partner. So our launch partner is RETarget. They're an advertising platform that's directly integrated into our dashboard. And so in this example here, every time that a PrimeMLS member clicks on one of the ads, we get an immediate webhook back to say, okay, that member clicked on the ad and this was what the ad was for. Let's say it's an affiliate ad, it would identify the affiliate as well. So again, when we ask for the affiliate to renew at the end of the year, we can say, hey, your brand was engaged with by, 7,000 unique members. Please renew. When they do click that, we're going to note the interest within our AMS and then use that to guide communications downstream to say, okay, in this case, they clicked on the Paragon Connect webinar, and we'll track whether they actually register for it. And if they don't, then that's a different message that we can target them to say, hey, still interested? And find out why and sort of circle back to them later on.
Which is going to be beautiful for our marketing team.
Absolutely, and beautiful for automation. As we move forward with these innovations of AI and think smart contracts with little human involvement, having this information on hand is going to be key. Like Mark mentioned, recording it now is paying it forward to the future, whether you're using some really awesome complex thing like this for now or not. But I just love this, that the vendor here can report back to you. We can add to the trail. There's more information that can be given to the business stakeholders here. This is like a symphony working, moving great. I don't know, a disco song in the 70s.
Well, that puts us down to about 30 seconds, so let me jump forward here. I mean, obviously, we can't take questions and stuff here, but reach out to any of us at any time. You can reach out to me, Sarah, hold on, Chris, Mark at letsrelevate.com. I'm Mike at letsrelevate.com. Happy to answer any other questions you've got, but good job, guys, down to the 15-minute.
One last thing I'll add is be sure to attend the Internet Tracking Workgroup. I think that it is one of the most undervalued work groups. When you look at where the value creation comes from in the industry, for the longest time we've only thought of listings as how do we generate value from this data, but the Internet Tracking, once we build up a critical mass of that data, that's where we're going to get a tremendous amount of value creation in this industry.
Yeah, and I think it's just joyous to find something existing in our world of real estate products, all the billions of products, that's not just vaporware, that's in production today, that's fully embraced the standard, RESO as well as internet tracking. I think that's terrific. I'm elated, right? Right? Oh wait, is that your product name? I don't know. Elevated. No, I think that's awesome. So shout out to all involved, to PrimeMLS, to your team, Mark. And I think that is great. And we're going to see more and more implementation as we go through for the work group. Shout out to RPR. I know they invested a lot in it this year. So, and FBS as well is working on it. So this is a fun time to be internet tracking. And I know that Mark's earned his badge sitting into the boring meetings, but it's that 10% of the time that isn't completely boring. That's when the magic happens and stuff like this and people like Sara who are benefiting from it. So.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. Good job. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.